Hello and welcome to the AI revolution. I'm Cody, that's Bryce.
Hello, everybody.
No Johnny Boy today, my friend John D'Oliveira. Bryce, I think you could consider him your friend too at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I consider John a friend.
Our friend John D'Oliveira, who's been working in AI for 30 years and usually joins us for this call, is on an airplane headed back from Boston to where he lives. I won't disclose that. I don't think it's a secret, but I don't need to be saying it. Anyway, he's headed home. So Bryce and I have returned from a 3-week trip around the world. Literally, I added up the mileage. Share your screen, Bryce, or I'll share my screen. The Chat GPT thing I sent, or was that Gemini? I think I sent the total amount of distance we traveled.
It was Gemini.
Yeah, here we go. You got it, or am I got it?
Go for it. I don't know how.
All right. I just found it. Now I got to find StreamYard, share my screen. This is what we did on our trip.
Can you make it larger?
I'm trying. I don't know. There we go. All right. And how's that?
Yeah.
Except I can't see it all on one spot. All right, there we go. So traveling from Carrizozo to Albuquerque, Bryce was similar in his Las Cruces to Albuquerque jaunt. And then New York to JFK, Albuquerque to New York to London, London to the Isle of Guernsey, back to London, London to Dubai, back and forth Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I think we could add like another 150 miles because I think we did one more trip Abu Dhabi to Dubai, which we should add on there because that would put us fully over 25,000 miles. Yeah, that was a lot of traveling. We are back.
I emailed you that it looks like that's slightly greater than the circumference of the Earth at the
Interestingly, I had looked that up also after I saw that number. I was like, I wonder how that compares to if you went around the circumference of the Earth. And literally, it's like 200 more miles than the entire circumference of the Earth that we traveled because of the going back and forth a few times and that we were doing like hops, not just one big circle. But yeah, 25,000 miles. Look at my eyes. I got bloodshot this afternoon. Jet lagged.
Still jet lag?
Yeah, I'm hurting a little bit today.
I slept a bunch yesterday afternoon, so I feel all right, thankfully. But
yeah,
we're glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back, Craig. You guys will be meeting Craig on these calls, I'm sure at some point. He is joining our team as a new analyst and support. Bryce's right hand. Bryce is my right hand. I don't know. I run out of analogy. I saw a guy today on Twitter who called himself, he said he's got the highest IQ in history.
Uh-huh.
And then if someone took a screenshot of like, he wrote a paper about himself as the highest IQ in history, and that's the reference by which he says he is the highest IQ in history.
Really?
I think it's sort of like 276 IQ, which I don't think that really exists because once you're like at 161, 65 on the IQ scale, you're like 5 standards of deviation away or something. Like 267 would be.
Well, yeah. I've never taken an IQ test. I have no idea. There's Doug.
Hello, Doug.
One of our other friends.
What's Doug's name on Training with Cody?
Jamone.
I love that.
Well,
name.
you basically just doxed Jamone.
Yeah, sorry, Dougie. Anyway, if you don't pick such a cool username if you don't want me to dox you. So
that was I did read an article. This segues us into AI a little bit, but I shared with Cody. But it was written by a professor, and he was talking about how AI agents have become useful. And we wrote an article. We wrote an article, I don't know, 6 months ago talking about the spectrum of intelligence, going from primitive beings to, say, AGI or ASI, which is artificial superintelligence. And, the current version of AI, even the chatbots, are somewhere on that scale, right? And Tesla FSD, I think, is a good example. Like, is Tesla's full self-driving perfect? No. But is it better than my 1-year-old niece at driving a car? Absolutely. Is it better than a 12-year-old driving a car? Absolutely. Is it better than the average 16-year-old on a learner's permit? Probably is. Yeah. And so, like, as it moves up the scale, it's not a perfect.
Is it better than me? Yes, yeah. It is a better driver than Cody.
And so anyways, as you move up the scale of intelligence, there's value, right? A 16-year-old driver that can get you from point A to point B most of the time is more valuable than an 8-year-old who can't drive, in terms of driving a car. So AI clearly has some value. Anyways, this professor was sort of on that paradigm, and he was saying, look, AI can't do my job. I don't know what his subject is, but he's a PhD professor. But he's like, a big part of our job, which is very laborious and time consuming, is reviewing research papers made by other professors. And you have to replicate the research they've done. And if it's replicable, then, it's provable. And he says, it takes hours, takes weeks to try to recreate those experiments and verify, for peer-reviewed research. And now the AI can do it 60, 70% of the time. It's better than he would do it. It takes a few hours sometimes of back and forth with the AI. And I just thought, that was a good use case where it's not, a lot of AI companies like to say they have PhD level intelligence, but it certainly can't do everything a PhD can, but it can do some things a PhD can, and it can do those things much, much faster than an average human PhD can do.
No, that's right, Bryce. And it is a snapshot in time. As I often say, we are in the dial-up internet phase of the AI revolution. And, it's funny, like right now when people are debating which model is smartest or most effective, most cost-effective, energy, whatever metrics you're using, it really is like, it's going to be silly to look back in 3 or 4 years, especially in 10 years, and be like, do you remember when they were like grading the LLMs on their intelligence and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, it is still so archaic that we're using it like we're using it, that agents are sort of like, at this moment in time, the most obvious application that people are coming up with, along with maybe coding and software and stuff. But, like the agents is sort of an obvious way of using AI, sort of like email. Text on an email was the most obvious use of the internet back in the late 90s, when dial-up internet was what we were using. And so at this snapshot in time, some of the stuff works well. Some of it is getting really smart. It's certainly on the spectrum. If you start at a dumb transistor and you work up to a Texas Instrument 1959 calculator, to a TRS-80 Radio Shack computer, to a Commodore 64, to a Mac, to a MacBook, to an iPad, to this incredible smartphone we use today, to Oculus and Vision Pro. And like it's silly to look back and think of, hey, do you remember that Excite was slightly higher rated than Alta Vista for a few months in 1998? Right. And the other thing to remember, as bullish as we are on AI and the companies that we invest in the AI revolution, most AI startups today won't make it. 90%. I mean, that rule is pretty much how it's a standard in business. 90% of business startups don't make it, and the competition is going to be ferocious. And while the access to capital for someone who has a good resume that's related to AI, or came from an AI LLM that someone's heard of, like the access to capital is great, but so was it for pets.com and others. And so we don't mean to be glib about how it's all going to work out, because there's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of losses, a lot of ups and downs. And I guess we should hit on, Bryce, it was interesting on the trip. You had a few recurring themes that we ran into. I think one of them is AI a bubble? And even the circular aspect of NVIDIA invests in OpenAI, and OpenAI takes the money and gives it to Oracle so that Oracle can buy NVIDIA chips. And so then NVIDIA has lots of money to invest in the next LLM that needs data center capacity. And so it becomes a circular thing. And there's been I will say, I think it's worse on Twitter than it is in the real world, people worrying about that aspect of it. But let's address it while we're at it. What are your thoughts on the circle?
Sure. So I listened to Jensen Huang on a podcast after that announcement came out, and they asked him the question, and we lost your video, Cody, if you did that intentionally. But anyways, and what I liked about it, he said, look, we're investing in these companies, and it has nothing to do with there's two sides of it. There's the business side of it, the revenue that these companies are generating and the potential for profit, and the other side of it is an investing side, and they can either raise investment from their profits or from outside capital. And he says, as an investment, NVIDIA thinks that OpenAI is a good investment, and he thinks it's going to be the next multi-trillion-dollar hyperscale cloud, is the way he described it. And so he thinks OpenAI, sort of like XAI, is going to continue to vertically integrate and build its own cloud resources on top of using cloud services from Amazon and CoreWeave and from Microsoft and CoreWeave and others. So for that reason, he wanted to invest in OpenAI. And then the second thing is they're moving to this model of leasing chips instead of selling chips, which is kind of the idea for this deal. And from the business end of it, Jensen seems to think that, the ChatGPT and the services that OpenAI sells is going to be a fantastically successful business, and they're comfortable, helping their customer finance these chips, which are incredibly expensive, so that they can continue to grow and meet the demand that they're seeing. They can't meet the demand. And so NVIDIA wants to do what they can to help them scale even faster to meet demand.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there's still so much more demand for compute than there is supply. And you've seen that evidenced if you've been using Gemini this week or ChatGPT, and the slowness in the responses and processing that it's doing when you ask questions. I think also it's worth noting that, the vast majority of the spend in this AI revolution is coming from the most profitable, the most technologically savvy, the most advanced companies, the biggest businesses that this planet has ever seen. And those guys, whether you're talking Google or Microsoft or Amazon, they're choosing to spend tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars building this AI infrastructure. And so, as Doug asks, does that mean CoreWeave is running at 100% 24/7? I don't know that I would go that far, because they leave a little bit of compute inside, and not every moment of every day are you ever going to be at peak loads in that stuff. But
I would say that
directionally, you're right, Doug. Yes, there is so much more demand than there is supply that CoreWeave is probably running as much capacity as they can at every moment right now.
I would say 100% of CoreWeave's capacity is under contract. I don't know that the servers are spinning 100% of the time.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all that compute capacity has been sold.
Yeah. Anyway, look, I mean, this is not a bunch of IPO money. It's not a bunch of venture capital money. There is obviously some money that is circular here. I mean, there's no denying that NVIDIA is giving money to a company that is going to use that money to fund the purchase of NVIDIA chips downstream. But NVIDIA also is not just some random Nortel hiding its less than arm length transactions with its biggest customers. ChatGPT is not directly a big customer at all, really. So
this is a slightly different topic, but I've been playing with this new AI tool called Cluely. I don't know if you've heard of it, Cody.
Yeah, let's see it.
So it's wild, I think. So it's let's see. How do I entire screen? Okay. So this is a tool that listens to your meetings. And so I had it running in the background. And what's weird about it is that unlike almost every other AI meeting tool, the people you're meeting with have no idea it's happening, right? And so you could use it in an interview. You could use it in situations you're not supposed to use it, right? Without other people's consent. But what's wild is it suggests questions, it suggests follow-up things, and then like you can fact check. So I just fact checked ourselves, like is what percent of CoreWeave's capacity is under contract? Nearly 100% is under contract. Fact check these things. Is NVIDIA giving money to a company that will use it to buy NVIDIA chips? True. Here's the source. I think it's crazy. And then like, if you want to, like, what should we talk about next, right? You could say Cluely gives instant fact checks and context during meetings, so you can catch errors. That's not a very good question, actually, because I just said that. But I think it's a wild tool, and then you can, obviously it saves all this data, and then you can reference the meetings later. It shows you what's coming up on your calendar, and then it preps you for the meeting. I don't know how to get rid of this. But like it's, there's a meeting we have tomorrow. It says who we're meeting with, has the backgrounds on the people that we're meeting with. So,
I mean, again, it's such low-hanging fruit. Like that is such an obvious use case for AI LLMs right now. And it alone is mind-blowing. That's amazing. It is very cool, but you're right. Using any AI, yeah.
So it's sort of crazy to me that you can have this, and then you can also hide it. So like if you wanted to like, see now I made it invisible. So like if somebody was like, oh, let me see your screen, or are you using Cluely? You can hide it. I think
they would have no clue that you're using Cluely.
Yeah.
Low-hanging fruit there also, Bryce.
Oh yeah. It's crazy though.
It is another cool tool. And again, it's just so early. Like we'll see, our minds will continue to be blown as video AI generation goes mainstream, and as robotics go mainstream. And Bryce, what was another recurring theme from the event? The trip around the world.
Sure. One of the things we talked to lots of business people, CEOs and other executives, founders, VC people. And so they have insights into the enterprise software market. And so we talked a lot about that. And one of the recurring themes for me was that a lot of enterprises are using Microsoft Copilot, or they've experimented with it because every enterprise on the planet uses Microsoft products. And so they've pushed Copilot out to everyone. But I think without exception, they all sort of hate Copilot and would rather use just ChatGPT or Gemini or some chatbot rather than the built-in Microsoft version of the large language model. And so I think it just further demonstrated to me that Microsoft's kind of botching / has botched this AI rollout thing. And I think there's probably a shoe to fall in the AI strategy of Microsoft at some point, as if Microsoft's not rolling out the best products, then they're going to lose in this race at some point.
That's right. And it is interesting, Bryce. It's clear that the positioning of Microsoft, you and I have talked in these calls a lot about how Google has 7 applications that have more than 2 billion users, monthly users on each of them, and including just Android devices as a perfect example. All of those things, each of those devices are potential distribution points for Google to put access to Gemini, Google's AI, to in each of them instantly. And so it's instant distribution, instant usage for Google's Gemini. Microsoft has billion plus PCs around the world, and incredible, 95% high or higher market share in enterprise. I'm on a Mac here, and at one point Microsoft was 99% enterprise market share in PCs, and they've lost share to Google. Google Chrome and Mac over Apple Mac over the years, but it's still huge market share. And the biggest advantage they've got right now with their Copilot is that it is distributed to anyone who's using Microsoft 360 or any of the other software as a service applications that you can use on your Windows machine. And that your enterprise data is already inside of that, whatever Microsoft platform you're using there. And so I think that's the single biggest reason. Without a doubt, the recurring theme when we talk to enterprise users of AI, they were saying that they use Copilot because they know they can, and they're not comfortable uploading sensitive customer data to ChatGPT directly or to Google Gemini or something. And so that is in the dial-up internet phase moment, the snapshot in time that we are at in the AI revolution. That is a key advantage for Microsoft. It is a serious moat for now, but they will lose that moat quickly as all of the other LLMs, Anthropic included, Gemini, ChatGPT, everyone else sees that they need a solution for enterprise data to be secure and safe and not sent out. And they're feverishly working on undercutting that moat, eliminating that moat. And so Microsoft needs to figure this out now, or it's not. The future's not good. Let's see what Craig says here. My experience, I'm hearing Copilot is great to summarize. Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's so pointless. Like, yes, it's great at summarizing long email chains. I saw a meme the other day. It was like, honey, come look. I had this LLM write this huge complex email for me. It took my bullet points and turned it into a big email. And then the other guy gets the email and he's like, honey, come look. I had this LLM take this big long email and summarize it into some bullet points. That's right. The other applications are not that exciting, and even summarizing long emails is ha ha ha, because it's not exactly the most amazing thing. And really, at this point, you should be using AI like Bryce and I do every day, where, we want to research something. We're not just going to get the AI to do a deep dive research. We're going to build an AI application that we can interact with and use it to learn about the product we're using. So, it's the upgraded paperclip guy. What was his name? Clippy? Clippy.
That's a Mark Benioff quote.
Yeah.
That's Mark Benioff's favorite. Mark Benioff loves to trash Microsoft. Mark Benioff is the CEO of Salesforce.
If I were a mean CEO, boss, that is, I would be like, Bryce, I think your new nickname's Clippy. That would be really funny.
That would not be a good nickname.
No, it'd be insulting. So
it would be. I'm going to ask you a follow-up question from Cluely here. How do you think Google's massive user base will impact the adoption of Gemini compared to Microsoft Copilot?
Well, we've already seen Gemini while we were on our trip. Somewhere in the last 3 weeks, it leapfrogged. ChatGPT in the App Store. It is now the #1 app in the App Store for your smartphone, whether it's an Android device like Bryce has now, or an Apple device like I have. And so I think that instant distribution is already impacted because people get used to using Gemini. And just like right now at the beginning of this call, I wanted to reference something I had used Gemini for earlier. In that case, I was talking about the total distance we traveled on our around the world trip, but I went back to Gemini to get that. And so there, on a consumer level, not enterprise level, but on a consumer level, Gemini is going to be by far the most dominant AI out there. It's just, Grok will be great for people on Twitter, and some people will download the app and use it. ChatGPT has clearly got, more than 1 billion users monthly right now anyway, and so it's not going away or something. But, Gemini will probably be the most popularly used AI interface for, probably it'll have more like sort of search market share. 55-60% of all AI interactions will be on Gemini 5 years from now.
If you count Google's AI overviews, which are powered by Gemini, and AI mode, probably a good argument that Google already has more users than OpenAI anyways. If you just count all of the AI users of Google. Yeah.
That's right. All right. Last questions, last comments. I got jet lag to deal with here, Bryce. Sweet this week.
You want to hit on Tesla? We got delivery numbers coming out. It's robotaxi, AI, pay package. I don't know. I don't think we've talked about any of that.
Yeah, look, robotaxi clearly has continued to go well. It's very exciting that there are cars driving around with just cameras, not LiDAR, and they are successfully, safely transporting human beings from point A to point B in Austin and soon in other places. Are they operating now in San Francisco too?
Yes, it's similar though. They have a driver.
Yeah.
You shouldn't say a driver. It's a safety monitor.
Yeah. Human.
Yeah.
Observer. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's going great. As I guess we should point it out, because in one of our colleagues in a write-up a week and a half ago was talking about how hard it will be for Tesla to scale from a few hundred robo-taxis presently to 1 million someday. And we should just remind people that, look, the idea is that pretty much most Teslas on the road right now could be turned into robo-taxis with maybe just some hardware camera upgrades for the hardware 3 versions. That cars that are less than 2 years old really will probably just need a software download and to be unleashed, and then you'll be able to add your car to a fleet of robo-taxis going around and picking people up if you choose to. So I think that's all on, as you and I wrote about when it seemed like no one else was taking it seriously more than, I guess, a year ago at this point, when we wrote the Ultimate Tesla book. It was, we wanted to figure out what the numbers could look like and what kind of revenues and profits you could generate off of that. And it really is very exciting looking out, not just this year, like this year and next year are fine, but really it's 3 to 4 years out. If we've got millions of robo-taxis driving people at half the price for Ubers and Lyfts and Waymos, Tesla's market share in ride sharing goes, or taxiing goes to 80%.
Cool. We have, a couple rapid fire questions here.
Sure.
Meta glasses, Ray-Bans, they just dropped not long after we left.
Everybody, I'd like to introduce Meta salesman, Meta Ray-Ban salesman leading the U.S. and globally after last 3 weeks, Bryce Smith, Mr. Meta Glasses. Tell me you've got him there beside you, Bryce.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been anticlimactic if you did not have them there. How many pairs do you think you sold in London, Guernsey, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Hong Kong over the last 3 weeks as you walked around showing everybody and raving about them to everyone?
Everybody loved them. I sold 20 pairs. That's it. I know for a fact I've sold like 4 pairs. I've seen the people that have bought them. So, and then
we took some incredible footage. We got stuck in the riots in London for it was anti-immigration / Antifa and riot cops lining the streets and smoke bombs going off and chants. And Bryce and I were just trying to get back from a lunch to the flat of the guy that we're partnered with on our fund over there, and trying to get to the train station from there. And it was all very disconcerting and quite even stressful. But Bryce it's really cool. He's taking pictures and or recording his view of it all. And it was interesting. We'll share some of that footage. I don't know, on Twitter. Follow Bryce on Twitter. Throw your handle in there, Bryce, if you would.
I don't even know I'll have to find it. But the new glasses are very exciting. I think they're going to be a big hit. You can see your text messages. You can see your map for navigation. You can see the AI responses instead of just hearing the AI responses. You can draft text messages. I don't know. I think a lot of people we're making fun of the launch event, but I think people are going to be surprised at how well they sell once they get out there into the hands of consumers and people start using them and posting about them and sharing videos they make with them. Oh, you can do one of the features they have, which these don't have, which I think is cool, is using WhatsApp. You can do a voice video call with somebody. And so let's say during that protest, I could have video called one of my family members or something back home.
Or a news station.
Right? And they could see what I see, and then I could see them in the display.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's going to be I think that's going to be.
Yeah, Bryce, the reason people were poo-pooing the rollout was because he couldn't connect with his tech guy. It was a disaster of a rollout, and let me show you how cool this stuff is.
Yeah.
On the other hand, now we're talking about that rollout, and so it actually gets them a lot of press. And then I think everybody knows that what they buy in a few weeks and get delivered for Christmas is not going to Oculus isn't sitting still. Meta's improving it every day, including now. Here's Bryce. Follow at search for Bryce Smith. I guess I don't know. Nobody can. Who types Smith _ Bryce 12? What is the worst username of all time, Bryce?
That's why I can never remember my Twitter handle.
Yeah, exactly. You can't even remember your own Twitter handle.
Well, I wasn't early one of the first 100,000 Twitter users like you to actually get my real name as my Twitter handle.
Yeah, and Cody Willard's not quite as popular as name as Bryce Smith around the U.S. either. But that is still sort of inexcusable. It could have been Bryce Smith Funds or Bryce Smith Tech or something.
I was in high school, I think, or college when I made that. 12 is the year I graduated high school. That's probably why I did that.
Anyway, I'm sorry I even put that up there, everybody. Ignore that. You don't need to follow Bryce on Twitter. I'll have him post it to my Twitter handle, which is at Cody Willard. Watch this, Bryce. Look, I don't have to look it up. I go Cody Willard. Bam. Done. Shared. Look at that. I'm at Cody Willard.
Yeah. Only one of us here has been blocked by Elon, though. So a lot of good your Twitter handle did for you.
Going below the belt, man. That's a low blow right there. All right, the other one I guess we need to hit on quick is SATS, baby. That is EchoStar. Let me just do the math for you guys here. We've been investors in SpaceX. This is about SpaceX, okay? We've been investors in SpaceX in my fund for 6 or 7 years in the private markets, long before it was cool to do that. We were the first. Bryce, do a Trump. Like, we're probably the best VCs. Like, nobody's as good at VCs as we are.
You got it.
That's terrible, man. Terrible. Anyway, Echoes, we've been forever trying to figure out how to buy SpaceX in the public markets without wildly overpaying it. And even if you want to buy SpaceX in the private markets right now, you're probably going to wildly overpay. There's going to be a commission of maybe 5% on it, and then a carry fee of somewhere between 10 and 30%. And so however much it goes up, they take 10, 20, or 30% of whatever those profits are. And it's a double layer SPV or a triple layer SPV, which means you own a part of a special purpose vehicle that might own a part of a special purpose vehicle that might own a part of SpaceX equity. You got to hope it all works out. And not only that, you can go out and buy, like there's a publicly traded closed-end fund called DXYZ. And this is not a recommendation because, it trades at 5x or 7x its actual book value for what it owns SpaceX and OpenAI and stuff, but it trades at 5 or 6 or 7 times what the actual value of those things would be. And so you're literally paying it, like SpaceX is trading at $212, not trading at that, but it's the most recent time when SpaceX bought its own shares back from employees and stuff. A tender offer, it was at $212 a share. Buying DXYZ is like buying it at $1,200 a share or more. And so we don't want to do that. So anyway, Bryce and I, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I turned to Bryce and said, you know what? Communicate with the wireless spectrum upon which these devices communicate and the internet and satellite dishes talk, cell phone towers go back and forth. Spectrum is the water of the communications age. And Bryce, we should go do a bunch of work on Spectrum. So what did we do, Bryce? We built a Spectrum app. We built an AI app all about wireless spectrum. Who owns what? We wanted to understand, most importantly, space to space spectrum and space to Earth spectrum. We wanted to remind ourselves of all terrestrial spectrum, LTE, 5G, who's going where, microwaves, open, free megahertz ranges, and how much is each range worth, what's called a pop, how much is each pop worth. So we built all this, did a bunch of work, and EchoStar is the company that owned most of the spectrum that SpaceX needed. And I use it in past tense because guess what? The FCC basically forced EchoStar to sell that spectrum to SpaceX. It hasn't closed yet. It'll probably close in 1.5 years, but everybody in the government and everybody in the private market now wants that deal to happen. It's probably really going to happen and get cleared. And so SpaceX bought it for $20 billion, $2 billion of which is interest payments for EchoStar, $9 billion or $8.5 billion of which is cash. And most importantly to this story, buried the lead, here it comes. SpaceX gave them $8.5 billion at $212 a share of SpaceX equity. And so you do the math right now, the company just wiped out all of their debt because they also sold $24 billion of spectrum to wireless, AT&T Wireless a week or two before this deal was announced. That wiped out most of their debt. After taxes and everything, SATS will have about $1 billion plus in net cash on the balance sheet. They'll be generating about $1 billion of EBITDA with their existing businesses. and they'll own about $9 billion, $10 billion worth of SpaceX. The next round of SpaceX is probably going to be done at $250 a share. So 20% pop from the most recent round. So really, it's like more than $10 billion of SpaceX equity. And the kicker, they still own, EchoStar still owns about $5 to $10 billion worth of other spectrum, which they'll probably sell now. And so they're the net asset, you're paying maybe even a discount. You're certainly not paying a premium to buy SpaceX in a liquid, publicly traded vehicle called EchoStar, symbol SATS. I am not recommending, I'm simply telling you that we've been slowly but surely accumulating SATs. And I only told you that because Doug Mitchell asked. How'd I do, Bryce? That was pretty good, right?
That's good. You got it. I think that's good.
Smith_Bryce12 at twitter.com.
You can also find me on Discord.
Cody Willard.
Cool.
I bet I was, Bryce. I bet I was one of the first couple 100,000 people on Twitter. X.
I think I'm one of the first 100,000 people on Cluely.
I bet that's true.
I saw the CEO in an interview, and he has 5 employees. It's pretty small.
Which my last word then will be: there are going to be dozens, if not scores, of companies worth billions of dollars, even in Europe, because there's some brilliant entrepreneur, 18-year-old kid in his parents' flat. What do you call an apartment in French, Bryce, in Paris? Appartement. Anyway, that's building the next killer app. You know, there's going to be some killer apps that are going to be coded with AI and don't have very many employees and going to be worth billions of dollars. And the democratization of app building is going to mint a few billionaires, maybe a few hundred billionaires around the world in the next 3 to 5 years. Feel comfortable saying that. Maybe some kids in Africa, maybe some kids in South America, a few Europeans, some people in Asia, maybe even a Canadian. There might even be a Canadian that comes up with a killer app not named BlackBerry. Shopify. I guess Shopify. Shopify's worked out for the Canadians. Nortel, not so much. BlackBerry, not so much.
All right, I'm going to give you the 4-bullet recap from Cluely.
Okay.
AI meeting tools like Cluely are providing real-time fact-checking, context, meeting prep, but raise privacy concerns. Number 2, Tesla full self-driving is considered safer than a 12-year-old driver. It's being tested in cities like Austin and San Francisco. CoreWeave's compute capacity is nearly 100% under contract due to high AI demand, and Microsoft Copilot is widely distributed in enterprises, but often disliked compared to ChatGPT. And there's more, but I need to upgrade to the Pro plan to get the rest.
That made me snort. That was a great way to end the call.
Free
you guys, our normal regular viewers can click off now, but if you'd like to upgrade the $99 a minute version, you can stick around and Bryce and I will continue to talk.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Peace and love. Thanks, Bryce. We'll see you guys next week. We'll have John Dio back in the saddle. And one of these days, Bryce is going to build an AI app in real time for you guys. Stay tuned for that. We're scheduling it presently.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks,
see you, Greg.
Jamon, and anybody else out there. Thanks.